Alrighty. Well, hello everyone. This is Austin here at Isalis. Hello and thanks for joining the orders webinar today. I'm going to go ahead and flip the screen over here, and that way I'm going to share my screen here in the EMR. So you guys should now be able to see my screen. So today we're going to be kind of diving into orders here within the system. And this is more of a high-level overview of what they do and how to place an order, and then go ahead and process this. So just a little kind of tidbit here to expound on what an order is, just to make sure we're all kind of on the same page here. An order in the system, which we're about to kind of dive into here, is it's literally something that's going to go to someone or a place, right? So an order could be a referral for a patient, right? I need a patient to go somewhere else. An order could be a lab. It could be a scheduling order. Those generally require action from someone. They're a little bit more than just your next leg of documentation. So to start here, in order to place an order, we're going to go ahead and navigate to the order entry chart tab here in the lower right-hand screen. So I'm on my handy dandy test patient here. So within the orders here, this is our template, right? So depending on what type of practice you have and where you are, you might have some different sections here. But for the most part, anything here is going to be pretty similar across the board for most practices. So for follow-up visits, right, we can schedule those. Imaging, labs, all that is right in here. So just some navigation items here. So at the very top here, we obviously have the order template that we're using, but to the right of it, we're actually going to see ordered by. Okay, so this name is very important. So if you are a provider and you are placing an order yourself, you're in good shape. That should have your name there. Now, in the event that you are an MA, maybe you're a nurse, or maybe you're checkout staff, or anyone else who is placing an order on behalf of a provider, you'll want to make sure that the ordered by is that provider's name, right? Because it's not being ordered by you, it's being ordered by a specific provider. So that's a single most important kind of first step here, is we're going to go ahead and set that. Since I'm functioning as if I am the provider, that's my name there, but the first thing I want to do if you are not the provider is go ahead and flip that to the provider's name, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and actually place a couple of orders here. So if I have, maybe there's a follow-up visit, right? I might want to see this patient back here in, let's say he needs to come back here in a month, right? Boom, we have that set. Maybe for imaging, right, we can select those. We can do labs, right, or a referral, anything of that sort. But I'm going to go ahead and order a lab, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose a referral. So maybe I want to do a CBC, and then I'm going to go ahead and select a referral order. So this is going to go to an addiction clinic. Very good. So placing or finding the orders that we're going to place is very kind of simple at this point, right? So once I go ahead and send this, I'm going to go ahead and hit save, right? This is going to be our first leg of the process. So I'm going to go up here to the very top. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. At this point, we see this assignment window, right? So think of this as kind of your high-level overview, right? If you're placing an order, you're going to want to see, who is this going to, right? Because our checkout staff is probably going to want to get the referral, but maybe for the labs that we're placing and for for a lab for imaging, any of that other stuff, maybe that all needs to go to the back office staff, to a nurse group. So a little bit of navigation up here at the top. This is where we can assign a diagnosis code to something, right? We can select certain things directly from here, or we can select all. One of the things I want to clarify here as well is we're going to see in the lower right here, we have these priorities, right? So priority, we can set that as a high, normal, or low priority. And the processor here, think of this as the person that I am sending this to, right? So this is a scheduling order because we have it selected here in the upper left. So this is going to go to my office staff, right? Over here, maybe it's going to be a CBC, right? Maybe we want to go ahead and assign a code from the problem list. We could relate this to maybe anxiety disorder. At this point, I can see who the nurse is, right? The processor is the nurse group. So this processor, just to expound on this a little bit more, can be an individual, right? I could send this to Jane, to John, or Billy. But more importantly, more likely than not, it's not going to go to one specific person. There's going to be a group of people doing that. So the checkout staff might be all tied to the checkout group or the office staff group. And the MAs and nurses might be tied to the nurse group, right? Because there might be a group of people working those. If I wanted to change that, I could change that, but I can see that's who I have, and I want to keep it that way. For my addiction clinic referral, maybe I want to go ahead and relate this to depressive disorder. Okay, so we can follow that workflow and go kind of one by one if they are all related to different things. But in the event that I want to just say all of these should be for hypertension, right? Because maybe we don't want to go through individually, I can just select this all button, right? And then I can relate all of these to hypertension over here from the problem list. And that way, those are all selected, okay? At this point, I can also change the processor. So let's say for all these, I want to go ahead and tweak any further items. We can go ahead and tweak those, right? I can even change the processor. Let's say I don't want the scheduling order to go to my checkout staff. I can actually change this here to go to my nurse group. So I'm going to go ahead and set those all to go to the nurse group. If I wanted to go to more of the individual level, again, I can keep the scheduling here to go to the office staff, okay? So that's how we can toggle processors to go from a certain group. But down here at the very bottom, this is kind of our overview here, right? So we see for the scheduling order, it's related to this code, and it's going to the office staff. Down here, we can see the CBC that we're placing. It's going to the nurse group. We can also see the addiction clinic referral is going to the nurse group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and then we are done. Boom. Now those orders have fired off, okay? Because on the right-hand side here in the chart tabs, I see this green check mark. So we have navigated to the orders, and we've selected them and placed them, right? But at this point, they're kind of queued up, right? So we've placed an order. They've fired off to all the people that need to process. So that scheduling order went to the scheduling staff, and then that referral order and the lab order went off to the nursing staff, okay? So at this point, I'm going to walk you through two different workflows, okay? So the first one is if you go from the My Task list, right? Because I'm going to go ahead and refresh this manually. I have three orders in here, right? Because my user, so my login here, it's tied to both the checkout office staff and the nurse group, okay? So I'm part of both groups on my login. Anyone can be tied to as many groups as possible. Most likely your nurses are only going to be tied to the nurse group, that sort of thing. But I've tied myself to both of these just so that way I can walk you through this workflow. So if it's a scheduling order, right, let's just pretend none of these orders here have any difference, right? Let's just pretend these are all the same. In this workflow, I'm going to work from the task list from the orders, and then I have this order here, right? So it's a scheduling order. I'm going to select this order, okay? So with that, the most common window we're going to see as soon as we select that is this window here. This is the order processing window, okay? This is going to give us kind of a high-level overview here of kind of what's going on with this order, right? Who the referring provider is, what the code is that's related to this. If we ever wanted to change these, we can add these on. If the patient had insurance on file, that would show up here. If there's an authorization, right? But I can even go ahead and add it, right? Anywhere where there's a yellow click box, I can just click on here and actually go ahead and select an insurance that's a part of these. right? So we can actually go ahead and edit anything here on the fly as well. Now, once we see all these, right, let's say we don't need to make any changes or any tweaks. We're happy with it just the way it is. I'm literally going to go up to the very top here to this little print icon. I'm going to go ahead and print the requisition. So the requisition here, as we can see, since we selected just the scheduling order here, we have a scheduling the return to office in 1 month, right? So that's going to be our requisition, and I'll hit OK. So this goes for labs, for scheduling orders, for imaging, all of that. You can use that same workflow for all of those, right? So we'll see the requisition prints up right here, and I can actually go ahead and print it off here, right? Then I can hand that paper file to the patient. A quick note here, if you have a lab interface, as soon as you print up that requisition, it's going to send that information electronically through the interface to the lab. Okay, so now that we've completed printing this order, right, and let's say I've scheduled the patient back, I can actually go ahead and set this to closed. You'll see this little open in parentheses. I'm going to click on that, and that's going to close that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save at the top. So that's how I've closed that order, right? So if I'm working this queue, I'm going to manually refresh this just to show you. That order is going to go away because it's been closed, right? So if you are working your orders that way, you can absolutely work it that way, because if you're not doing those maybe in real time, or if you're part of a nurse group and someone needs to work that, someone's going to be printing off that requisition. Okay. So that's utilizing the task list. Commonly, that's going to be your checkout staff and maybe your nurse group. The other workflow that I want to show you on how to process that order and print off a requisition. I'm sorry, I meant to flip back to the EMR. Very good. This is the order entry, right? So we're still on the same screen where we place those orders. But from here, we're actually going to go to the history at the very top. So the history view, click that there. And I'm going to flip over to the results, or the orders history, I'm sorry. And we'll see the orders that we have placed, right? We can see the open orders, right? So labs, referrals, scheduling, these are all the orders that we've placed, right? So if you don't want to use the task list, no problem. You can always close and print a requisition from here. So let's say this was for the lab order and the referral order. I can click on this, and I'm going to hold Control on my computer here, and I'm going to click on another one. So I can select multiple labs, right? So let's say if it was multiple referrals, multiple labs, we can grab those. And when we select multiple, that's actually going to go ahead and combine those two orders to be on the same requisition, right? That way we might not want to print 5 or 6 different requisitions if we're ordering multiple labs or sending multiple referrals. We might want all of these to be on one requisition. So if I select multiple, I can right click now, and I can go ahead and print a requisition, right? So we see that same window like we saw from the orders in the My Task list. I'm going to click OK. And now it's going to go ahead and create that requisition. Apologize, I've got multiple monitors here. But that's going to go ahead and pull up that lab requisition. And on this requisition, we'll actually be able to see both of those orders are a part of that, right? So we have the lab requisition. We also have the referral order. So it's really nice, right? So if I were ordering multiple labs, again, those would show up right there. I could print off those requisitions directly from there, but that's a really helpful workflow, right? Now, how do we close these? I'm going to just right click again, right, because we have multiple selected. I'm going to select the status. That's going to pop open this window, right? If I wanted to flip this to someone else, I could select their name from here, or I could select the nurse group and leave the status as open. But if I'm done with these, I'm just going to close this order. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So now what you're going to see is these orders are now closed, right? So again, just to circle back here and clarify, we can use either workflow here, and it will affect either side, right? So if I refresh that task count on the left, those are 0 because I closed those orders directly from here. So those two modules are interlinked with each other. So that way, if you close them in one area, you don't have to go to an entirely other area as well and close those and kind of double dip and do double work here. Okay, so you can use either workflow. You can select multiple orders, again, by holding down Control and clicking, and you'll be able to grab multiple at a time. And again, you can use either workflow here to go ahead and print a requisition or send a lab electronically, or if it's a scheduling order, to just send that over to the checkout, and they'll see that over in the checkout queue. So again, either way, so you can utilize the orders task list or the history here in the order entry. So today we've covered how to place orders, how to navigate the orders, and we've covered how to process those orders and create a requisition. So thanks for attending the training today, guys. Please keep an eye out here. We also have a results processing webinar as well that covers how to process when lab results come in, when imaging results come in, that sort of thing. So if you would like to learn more about how to process those and put in findings, go ahead and hop onto that webinar and to learn all about that and how to process those. All right. Thanks for attending, guys. Have a good one.